Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Sports IQ for Wednesday. Glad you're here with us. I'm Larry Smith. We've got another fantastic show for you coming up. You know, we've been talking a lot, as you have as well, about James Franklin getting booted from Penn State on Sunday. We are talking coaches all day today. In a couple of minutes, our friend Mike Gross joins us to talk Penn State. He is from the Substack, the Gross Rational Product. One of our favorite guests. We'll get his thoughts on Franklin. And then later, Evan Bland joining us from the Nebraska beat. He will be talking about the Matt Rhule connection that he has to this Penn State program. And again, we'll review with him in terms of what Rhule said on Monday's presser and what's ahead in that situation. And then another coach that maybe dead man walking is in Wisconsin, Luke Fickell. We will get Matt Perkins' comments on that as well. It's a really busy show. And we're happy to bring it to you. We want to get a couple of quick headlines before we get started, though. Let's start with baseball. And the ALCS Game 3 will be tonight. Toronto is at Seattle. The Mariners lead this series 2-0. It is Bieber versus Kirby in that one. 8 p.m. Eastern start. That's on FS1. NLCS, the Dodgers now up 2-0. A 5-1 win last night over Milwaukee. Yoshinobu Yamamoto with a 3-hit complete game. The first complete game we've seen in Major League Baseball playoffs in 8 years. Justin Verlander went the distance for Houston back in the 2015 ALCS. It's the first for LA in the playoffs since 2004 in the NLDS over St. Louis. Jose Lima doing that. So the Dodgers, the reigning World Series champions, trying to repeat. They are halfway towards winning the pennant as they get the 2 wins in Milwaukee. Today's an off-day travel day. Game 3 will be tomorrow in LA. FIFA officials say the 2026 World Cup sites will not be moved. President Donald Trump making that threat on Tuesday, but 11 U.S. cities, 3 locations in Mexico, 2 more in Canada, are all set for the global event to kick off next June, just 8 months away now, and we can't wait for that. Also, WNBA Finals, the numbers are in. 1.5 million audience. It's the average for the 4 games. That's the second highest since 2003, when ESPN took sole rights of the WNBA playoffs. Last year, 2024, by the way, was number 1 when New York beat Minnesota in 5 games. It was the first best of 7 series, didn't matter. Las Vegas sweeping Phoenix in 4 games to get that championship. By the way, regarding the full playoffs and viewership, that audience was up 5% from 2024, and this was without Caitlin Clark. Remember, she hasn't played since mid-July with the various lower injuries, lower body injuries that she had. She was out the back half of the season. Indiana, though, without her, did reach the league semifinals and took Las Vegas to the brink in Game 5 before succumbing. More college football news now, and talking about the James Franklin firing, the Penn State season that was, is, and will be. And all things in Happy Valley. Happy. Keep a smile on your face because it's interesting these days. Our friend on the show, joining us once again, Mike Gross. He is the Gross Rational Product Substack. Mike, good to see you. Let's just get right to this. Okay, Sunday, you're having brunch. You're coming out of church. Whatever you do on Sundays after the game, and you hear the news. Tell me your reaction.
Well, I was surprised that they fired him at this point. I figured he'd get the rest of the season, but I understand why he didn't get the rest of the season, because this is really broken. And I was down in the tunnel at the end of the Northwestern game because we kind of like sit in the interview room and work a little bit while we're waiting, And I thought, I'm going to go out there and just look at this and listen to this, and it was stunning.
Wow.
The abuse that he's getting, his daughter's walking off the field in front of him. She's in tears. He comes up and is hugging her. And it was vicious and brutal. And I was kind of, these fans, I mean, there's a line, and on one side of the line is passion, and on the other side is just cruelty. And I think Penn State fans were on the wrong side of the line, to tell you the truth.
Wow. I know and boy, we're in that society right now, aren't we? That place where we just want to be ugly. Do you think maybe with that he was on board with walking away with the treatment his family was getting? Was that?
I suspect that he, maybe for that and other reasons, I suspect that he may have been. I don't know how they work out this buyout thing. I mean, maybe they just gave him $50 million. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Adidas. Some people have suggested they've signed a new deal with Adidas. Maybe they chipped in. I don't know that. That certainly was a stumbling block. And we had the athletic director, Pat Kraft, had a presser yesterday. And he said, I'm not going to get into the details, but athletics paid the bill. The university itself, that's one thing that they have always, going back to Paterno, as long as I can remember, one thing that they've always made a point of is athletics pays for itself. We don't go into tax money. We don't go into general funds, et cetera. And so he just made that point. Athletics paid the bill. But beyond that, he didn't go into any detail.
Yeah. Okay. James Franklin, it's one of those, 12 seasons. I believe I saw second winningest coach behind Paterno.
Correct.
What he has done there has been fantastic. And I think he will be, I'm sure he's already fielding phone calls if he probably had already before this with third party. And there are some rumors out there possibly that maybe his destination is, kind of already 90% in the bag, possibly if he chooses to do that. What have you heard, and where do you think he lands next? Or does he take some time off?
It's possible that he would take some time off. I remember a few years ago, this might have been as far back as 16, 17, 18, when they were not in the playoffs, and he was getting to do like TV, like a studio gig, like they bring coaches in that are done for the year, that kind of thing. And he said he didn't like that at all. He said it was interesting and it was an interesting world to get a taste of, but he didn't enjoy it at all. Now, whether that has changed, or I don't know if he would consider doing TV. I could see him doing kind of what Dan Mullen has done. Mm-hmm. And I think Dan Mullen now is going to be a candidate for some of these jobs that you alluded to a minute ago. And he's undefeated right now at UNLV anyway. I don't know if Franklin want to do that. I don't know if he wants to get right back in. But there are going to be some jobs open, possibly Florida. We know Virginia Tech. Maybe a Kentucky. Maybe there's a lot that could be open. There's 5 other ones that I can't think of on the top of my head right now. But he's going to have some options, and I really don't have a sense of what he wants to do next. It would not be crazy at all for him to take a deep breath and take some time off.
Yeah, I looked at he's only 53. I don't know why I thought he was older than that, but you look at what he's done. I saw again what he did at Vanderbilt. He is a floor builder. He is a program lifter. And so to your point, and he's tried and true. I mean, if you do it at Vanderbilt, you can do it anywhere. And better than we do where Penn State was after Paterno and the Jerry Sandusky situation. Bill O'Brien comes in, kind of gets things stabilizes things. Franklin takes it from there, and what he's done again, so yeah, he will be coach number 1. He will get attention from anybody who has an opening here this winter.
Let me tell you an interesting thing. I was on a radio show right at the beginning of the season, and I said that when Franklin took the job, it was probably one of the worst 10 jobs in the power conferences. Now it's probably one of the best 10. Yeah. And the guy it was two hosts, and the one guy said, why do you say it was one of the worst 10? And I said, well, they were coming off of sanctions. And he had kind of forgotten that. I mean, it just shows you, how the land shifts and the landscape shifts, and we just sort of accept that and forget. And it also shows you that 12 years is a long time to be in one job and be at a plateau and not get to the next plateau.
Yeah, and we always want better. We saw it with Ohio State. We were talking about John Cooper yesterday or on Monday. On Monday's show.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
That was another one too, that he just, he won 8, 9, 10 games every year, but couldn't beat Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good example of it. That's a good example of it.
Yeah. If you're excellent for so long, if you don't reach the top, pretty soon you too can become the guy that they want out. We'll start with this Penn State team right now. So looking for its first Big Ten win, 0-3, looking for its first win over a Power 4 team. Is it 3 money games to start with? Now the star quarterback, Drew Aller, is out for the year. He's done. How does this team rebuild? And what's next for this program that was number 2 in the country to start, and the wheels have completely fallen off this thing?
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this stuff a long time. I can't think of a parallel to this that I've seen in 40 plus years. A lot of people have said, well, it was fool's gold. They weren't really that good. They got a lucky bracket in the playoff last year. Well, they did get a lucky bracket in the playoff. That's absolutely true. But this was a really good roster. This should have been, some people that I really respect in this business who are as good at prognosticating as anybody picked this team to win the whole thing going into the season. Not to be top 5, to win the whole thing. This was a really good roster. And there were some allusions over the last couple of days in the press conference and stuff that maybe the transfers and the money and the NIL stuff was a kind of toxic element within this group. But that's everybody's reality right now. That's not an excuse. If you want to go that route, then you got to say, well, then Franklin failed to manage that piece of it. Right. I'm out of answers. I've heard a lot of people come up with answers that I don't buy at all, that I don't think are the explanation. But I don't have a good one. I don't have much for you on that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think we're all scratching our heads. Not only those who've done this for a short amount of time, but those of us, you and me, and producer Tony, we've done this for decades. I can't think of a team. Well, like I said, number one, to fire. Who reaches the playoff or reaches the pinnacle? Currently, that is the pinnacle today in college sports without winning at all. College football semifinals, and the coach is fired the next season. I can't think of that ever happening for starters. And then, of course, the kind of season they had with the roster they had, all of this is crazy. You've got an Iowa team coming up here they're always, it's Kirk Ferentz. No matter what they have or don't have, they're always competitive. They're always going to throw the best at you, and you're playing them out in Iowa City to add to the degree of difficulty for the Lions.
Really a tough place to play, and they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback who's never been in anything like this situation before. The last time they went into Iowa and had to play a quarterback who had never played before was a kid named Taquan Robertson. I don't know if you remember this. Yep. He couldn't even get him out of the huddle. He couldn't even get a play with the noise and everything. He was beyond the word overwhelmed is not strong enough. By the way, he's still playing. He's at the University of Buffalo. It seems like he's been in college for 15 years. But anyway, it's a tough spot for them. The interim head coach is Terry Smith, who's kind of been Franklin's right-hand guy. He's the one that anybody would have guessed would be the interim coach. And he'll do as good as you can do as far as, circling the wagons and everything. But this is a very tough spot. And then a week off and then go to Ohio State. And then Indiana, which is the resurgent monster all of a sudden. So, yeah, they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, it's tough. Do you think that Jim Knowles regrets leaving Ohio State to become the defensive coordinator there at Penn State?
I suspect that Jim Knowles, at the end of his tenure at Ohio State, that felt a little rocky to me. Yeah. I'm not sure how that was playing out. But it is clear that Penn State's defense has not quite figured out his system enough to play fast and loose and aggressive the way they were playing last year and even the year before. So, yeah, Franklin's whole staff, what happens next for them is a really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be playing out over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and for all those coaches that felt they were coming in, and at whatever point they came in, this is a stable program, veteran coach. top 10 program. This is great. And all of a sudden, you're polishing up your resume and reaching out to see what's next, and where it's next. So,
and
Michael,
Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator,
yes.
I mean, I think he possibly could have gotten the West Virginia job last year. He was supposedly a candidate for that, and said, what I heard was he didn't think he was quite ready yet, but his stock has plummeted like crazy. I mean, he's kind of the evil guy right now in the mind of the pan. As usual, play call. Right. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is, it's going to be crazy over the next a lot of moving parts over the next couple of months.
Yeah, it really is. You look at the schedule, and again, the Iowa game almost becomes a must-win. Like you said, you got Ohio State and Indiana, and then later in the season, you've got Nebraska coming in, the number 25 team, and Matt Rhule. Let me get you very quickly in terms of. We've heard Matt Rhule's name. What are some names you're hearing? Anyone different than what we've already heard? Is it possible successor to Franklin?
Well, I think there are a lot of pretty good. I actually think there are a lot of pretty good possibilities. I would say, I mean, they're going to call Curt Cignetti. He probably won't be interested. I wouldn't be if I was him. But if you can get him, you get him, because he's a miracle. He's the hottest guy in the business right now. I can't. That's almost as astounding in the opposite direction. What he's done at Indiana as what's happened at Penn State. And then, Matt Rhule is a good name. I think Matt Campbell of Iowa State is a guy who might be, like maybe he's done what he can do at Iowa State. And he's a very well-regarded guy. I mean, I think there are a number of guys. I like Joe Moorhead. I doubt that he's going to be seriously considered. He's the head coach at Akron right now, and there's some things going on in that program. I mean, Vince Lombardi couldn't be winning at Akron right now. And he probably should not have gone to Mississippi State when he did. But he won more than he lost there. Anyway, he's a guy that I like a lot, that I doubt it's going to even be considered. But I think there's a lot of guys. Dan Mullen is I think on the table. I think the quality of people that I think are reasonable options for Penn State kind of reflects what Franklin's built. Kind of reflects what I said before about they used to be a bottom 10, now they're a top 10 program.
Yeah. Well, the foundation is there, like you said, but like we said before, I mean, I think even now Vanderbilt is still enjoying the fruits of what he built. And even though it was 12 years ago, Mullen and Campbell, two guys that don't make a lot of money financially, what might make sense, even though they're agents are going to make a payday. Cignetti, I'm with you. Cignetti is somebody who they're already probably commissioning a statue of him after the win at Oregon. So he may not be going anywhere. Hey, Mike, man, unfortunately, we were out of time. Always good to talk with you. And man, keep us up to date. We'll be calling out again to find out what's happening up there.
Happy to do it anytime, fellas. Good to see you.
Right, brother. Okay, we appreciate it. Thanks so much. Mike Gross, once again, joining us. He is of the Gross Rational Product on Substack, one of our favorite guys. Man, he just tells it like it is. Penn State right now, you think that it's been rocky? Strap in. It's the next few weeks going to be very interesting there in State College. Okay, we've got more to come. It's the Sports IQ.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
College football now, and of course, one of the big stories is the opening in Penn State. But let's not get away from what Nebraska's doing, folks, as you're trying to pigeonhole what's going to happen next. 5-1 right now. They're in the top 25. Had a shot to get here a couple of weeks ago. Had they gotten that win over Michigan, they did not. But this is a move we felt was coming under Matt Rhule here in the third season. Joining us once again, our friend from the Omaha World Herald, sports writer Evan Bland. Evan, good to talk with you. Let's just get to the elephant in the room and the Penn State opening and Matt Rhule, his connection to Penn State, his comments on Monday. Let's just throw this out there right now. What's the talk in Lincoln?
It's different than it's been. I mean, Nebraska's used to their coach situation being in flux, but not on this end. They're used to it being hot seat sort of situations. What's their situation moving forward? This is something, were it to happen, Nebraska hasn't had a coach leave for another school in football since the mid-1950s. So it would be a very unusual situation for someone to leave in that sort of scenario. And Monday, I think, was maybe the most anticipated Matt Rhule press conference that he's ever done, because there were fans who were looking for something unequivocal, taking himself out of the running, committing to Nebraska. That didn't happen. You thought maybe there'd be some sort of announcement of a contract extension. That didn't happen. And what you had was a coach who laid out why he loved Penn State. He was a walk-on linebacker there. He met his wife there. The AD, Pat Kraft, and him are good friends. They worked together at Temple in a similar role. So there were a lot of things about that place that he still appreciated and appreciates and said he liked. He also doubled down on why he came to Nebraska and why he likes it here. But I think the main takeaway was a call for increased funding for the roster, for money for player acquisition, player retention, and his kind of the money line was, you see schools that are making or that are funding their rosters to $30 and $40 million. And people that have said, well, that's not the Nebraska way. He said, I would like it to be. So that was very clearly a call for donors and supporters to up that ante. Not that Nebraska's behind the sticks, but they're not probably in the top 10 to 15. And for a school that aspires to be a national champion, that's an area that they feel like they can grow. So this is a situation that did not go away on Monday. It won't go away until Penn State makes a decision, whenever that may be. I think time is of the essence in a lot of ways there, but very unusual, Larry, in the sense that Nebraska just went on the road, beat Maryland by one possession. What was a very entertaining game, and people aren't talking about that nearly as much as the job opening at Penn State right now.
Right. That was the big thing to me was, and listen, I mean, if this doesn't happen on Sunday, that is the conversation. They finally got back in the top 25. Everything is going well, according to plan, the way that former AD Trev Alberts had dreamed it when he hired him and brought him in. But now you have this. And I think that's the thing for me that I really kind of caught was that, like you said, he didn't dismiss it at all. He didn't say, I'm leaving. Didn't dismiss it at all. And I think that's the next part of this. My question is that, and I, these numbers are, there's no database you can go to find out what numbers are accurate, which ones aren't. But to me, when I look at this, like, well, maybe Nebraska's not there, but I don't know that Penn State is either. That's kind of one of the things we were all kind of surprised about, is that we didn't feel that there were dollars in State College to buy Franklin out. Clearly, the big money guys got together Saturday night and said, oh, yes, we can do this. So that's the next question is you're paying this buyout, and I'm not sure the parameters, and, there's word Franklin to Virginia Tech already. And there's, maybe that was already a conversation that had before Saturday. We don't know. We'll find out later, maybe. But financially, if let's just say he goes to Penn State, would he get that financial support that he's looking for at Nebraska?
Right. I mean, that would be part of any conversation. And I think Matt Rhule had that conversation when he came to Nebraska. He would have that conversation. I'm sure if he were to look elsewhere, would be what's the setup? Pat Kraft said on Monday, their next head coach is going to be someone who can maximize the resources that they have. Well, you got to know what those resources are. And yes, to your point, now Penn State, over whatever length of time, is going to be paying out James Franklin's buyout. And those have always hurt, but those hurt even more in an era when schools are paying players, and every dollar that you have is more valuable and can be leveraged in a competitive way, in ways that you couldn't do 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so, my sense, I don't cover Penn State, but my sense is that that's a fan base that maybe has been fractured at times. People were split on James Franklin. Hey, he's got him in a great situation because they're always in the top 25, and they were CFP semifinalists last year. And then you have the camp that says, no, he can't win big games. Look at his record against the top 10 or against Ohio State. And so, I think my sense is that they feel like the next coach, if that next coach could unify that fan base, that they do feel like they could commit to having those resources at the very top level. But I think it's important for fans to understand too, like the conversation has changed even from last summer, where it used to be now you could front load NIL deals, and they weren't really NIL deals. It was essentially pay for play. And now with the NIL Go, the clearinghouse through the NCAA, it's got to be more legitimate. So that conversation has to turn a little bit from, hey, can we just shake down our big donors for money, to like, what's a legitimate avenue for these players to make more and for them to maybe potentially choose the school. So all that kind of goes into it. Nebraska certainly has that support. I mean, I was in Maryland Saturday night, and they had probably 10,000 fans that traveled 1,800 miles. Wow. and made themselves heard. So there is a passion, there is a support, and I think Matt Rhule, I don't think if he were leaving, I don't think he would have called on the school and the support to increase that dollar amount. I think he could. This could be a leverage play, not for his own contract, but for more investment in the roster. I think this thing could end up being positive for Nebraska. They're just in sort of that in-between stage now where it's pretty uncomfortable and you don't know what that outcome is going to be.
Yeah, and it may be uncomfortable for a few weeks here. There's no question about that. Let's get to that in terms of, again, it's not like you don't have 90,000 plus at Memorial Stadium every Saturday. The support is there, and the dollars are there too. And I think we'll see that all that gets worked out. The big win now over Maryland, another team. We've talked about a very young team, but a team that's been very competitive this year and has had a great start to the season. And now you go Friday night at Minnesota now as a ranked team. What does that rank? I know it's just a number, but what does that ranking mean to this program and the players in that locker room?
Yeah, it means that they're being recognized nationally again, and they've always been recognized locally and supported locally. But once you get in the top 25, and I know it's not the CFP rankings, but it's indicative of the perception nationally. And you look at some of their history, their recent history in the top 25. They were there briefly last year. They lost to Illinois, and you didn't see them again. Before that, they were there briefly in 2019, and this is a chance, really for the first time in about a decade, 2016, for them to legitimize that ranking. And that's just something they haven't been able to do. They've won some games, and then when they've had that moment, they've fallen flat. And so it's a big opportunity on a short week to go to Minneapolis, a place they've lost 4 games in a row. PJ Fleck's 6-1 against Nebraska. So it's a chance to exercise another program demon over maybe the last 10 years or so. And this isn't a vintage Gophers team. Like, they kind of struggle to run the ball, and they're okay. They're pretty much league average right now. So it's a team that, if Nebraska doesn't make mistakes, it should be more talented than, in my opinion, it should be. Las Vegas odds makers would agree. So we'll see how it plays out. But that's kind of the big thing for me is like, okay, they're back in the top 25. People have, again, put some trust in what they're doing. Can they legitimize that in a way that then would set up a game against Northwestern, and potentially then a November 1st game against USC, which could sort of serve as a CFP elimination game if those programs keep winning. So it's a huge game in order to set up future huge games here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then get past that game. I mean, I'll just go and throw it out there, November 22nd at Penn State. So, the conversation won't end there. Evan, listen, always great to talk with you and get your insights. Congrats at a 5-1 and ranked, and all the things we were talking about several weeks ago about Matt Rhule going into year 3. Right now, it's playing out the way his third seasons have played out so far at Temple and at Baylor. But of course, now you've got the added drama off the field. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks, my friend, and we'll certainly be calling you again to test the waters and find out what the temperature is. We'll count on you to kind of let us know what's happening.
Never a dull moment in Lincoln. Yeah, thanks, and reach out anytime.
Sounds good. Evan, thanks so much. Again, the big weekend this weekend. It is in Nebraska at Maryland coming up here. I'm sorry, at Minnesota this weekend. They're at Maryland last week. Friday night, that game is on Fox, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Evan joining us once again. He is with the Omaha World Herald and the sports writer there. Does such a great job. We appreciate his time. Okay, quick timeout. More to come here on the Sports IQ.
Hey, airline travelers, let's say you have a problem and you need to change or cancel an existing airline reservation. What do? Well, Skywatch is a free service that can help anyone with any airline reservation fix it. Whether you want to cancel it, change your dates, or add passengers, we can help fix your airline reservations so you get exactly what you need. We've updated our computer database and now have access to every airline around the globe. So now you can make one phone call regardless of who booked your airline tickets, and we'll change it, cancel it, and fix it for you. We know the insider secrets to fixing reservations that the airline airlines don't want you to know about. So if you need to cancel, change, or modify an existing airline reservation, call Skywatch right now. It's a free call, so let us fix it for you. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. That's 800-413-7158.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
I'll continue now with our college football theme here in the show. A lot of big coaching news happening. Obviously, Penn State, maybe Nebraska, who knows? How about Wisconsin right now for other reasons? Joining us right now is Matt Perkins with the Believe in Badgers a podcast. Matt, good to have you back on the show. Good to see you. Let's talk about right now in Wisconsin. You know, a few years ago, you guys went through this with Luke Fickell coming in, the big hire with what he had done, former Ohio State assistant, what he done with Cincinnati, getting him in the playoff. I mean, he was maybe the hottest name in coaching. It has not gone well in Madison. What's up with the Badgers right now?
Not gone well is putting it very kindly. I think you can say. What's happened in Madison? I think that there's a couple things going on. I think that Coach Fickell tried to change the culture too much. And when he came in his press conference said he didn't want to change the culture, he just wanted to tweak it. And that's not what he's done. He's, I think, completely changed the culture. When you see that now the team is almost completely made up of transfer guys, there is not a, the way that Barry Alvarez built this program, when he said, our hands and feet may come from, other places outside of Wisconsin, but the heart and soul is going to come from Wisconsin. And there is not that sentiment, there is not that experience on the roster anymore. There are, in my opinion, and especially in the opinion of my co-host over at Believe in Badgers, Matt Bernstein, who's a campus legend and former team captain under Coach Alvarez, he's shown that, there are just, honestly, like, it boils down to there's not enough in-state kids who care about the Wisconsin brand, who care about the Wisconsin identity. And there's no identity with this team. You could always rely on, under Barry Alvarez, under Brett Bielema, under Paul Chryst, having a huge amount of in-state guys who grew up loving this program, who grew up breathing and living this program and wanted to be there to develop. And that is almost completely gone, right? The amount, I think the amount of in-state kids on the roster is the lowest it's ever been. And you've seen, there's been a lot of talent in the state that has left, that has gone to Notre Dame, that has gone to Minnesota, that has gone to Ohio State. And there doesn't appear to be any sort of, like, that identity here in the team. And honestly, at this point, if you look at the last couple games, the coaches have quit on the players. Luke Fickell does not seem to have. It feels like they don't care. If you look at like the end of the last two games, the last drive and the couple of last games, Luke Fickell's has taken his timeouts with him. At the end of the Michigan game, they had 3 timeouts and they could have, tried to score, tried to make something happen, and they just gave up. At the end of the Iowa game, yes, they're down 37-0, but they're just running. They got the ball back with like 3.5 minutes left in Iowa territory, and they just ran the ball a couple times. They didn't use any timeouts. They didn't try to get in the end zone. And to me, that is sort of a microcosm of where the program is at.
Yeah, it goes back to me. It feels like it's pre-Barry Alvarez, which is when kind of the glory days of Wisconsin football came up. When I was growing up in the Midwest, and Wisconsin was one of those games where you looked at, okay, that's probably a win. That stopped with Alvarez, right? I mean, that never happened. But it's one of those that, to your point, and we talked about shocking scores, right? Obviously, the Penn State back-to-back losses, they were 20-point favorites. I thought the loss to Iowa was as shocking as anything. I mean, not just to lose, but to lose to a team that struggles on offense and to lose 37-0 to Iowa. To me, that's a shocking. Thankfully for Wisconsin, you get the Penn State stuff that kind of, obfuscates what's going on in Madison. But I think this is one of those where, and now you've got Ohio State and Oregon coming up, Indiana still on the schedule, Illinois, Minnesota, Washington too. I mean, this is really,
Is there a Big Ten win here this season for Wisconsin?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This team is finishing 2-10. They're going to be underdogs in every game for the rest of the season. Luke Fickell, in his tenure at Wisconsin, has not won a game as an underdog. He's covered, but he's never won a game outright as an underdog.
Wow. Okay, so back to the start. Luke Fickell, is he around for 2026? It just feels like this is dead man walking.
No. If he is, it is a dereliction of duty by the athletic director, because this program is in the worst state it has been in since the 1980s. That was their first home shutout since 1980. It's the first time they've been shut out at Iowa at home since 1929, like right after Black Friday in 1929. It's the worst loss to Iowa since 1894. And the Iowa game last year was, they said, was the one that sort of stayed with them all year, right? They were doing 42 push-ups at the end of every workout because they gave up 42 points to Iowa. And they lost by a bigger score this year to Iowa. It was 42-10 last year. It was 37-0 this year. And they brought in Jeff Grimes to bring back a Wisconsin identity, right? Grounded pound. And the offensive line hasn't held up their end of the bargain. They're on their third quarterback, who is Hunter Simmons, who's an FCS transfer who could barely start at Southern Illinois. So I guess we shouldn't be that surprised that they can't move the ball with any sort of consistency. But I was going over this with Bernie this morning when we were doing sort of our game recap. And Wisconsin is now in the bottom 15 of the country in pretty much every single offensive metric. They're, I think, 129th in scoring offense. They're 124th in total offense. Both rushing offense and passing offense are worse than 110th in the nation. And, the turnover margin is atrocious. They were -2 against Iowa, but they're in bottom 20 of the nation in turnover margin. And even the run defense was sort of like the one thing they could really count on this season, did not show up against Iowa. You see guys, being put in bad positions, quite frankly. And the defensive line, which has been sort of the bright spot this year, like the lone bright spot this year, completely just disappeared. Iowa ran for over 200 yards. And then you look at the offense. They have one really good playmaker in Vinny Anthony, and they just don't get him the ball. And it makes no sense to me. Like, if you look at the Michigan game, I think he had he had a couple catches against Michigan early, finished the game with 9 catches for 91 yards. But they went away from him here in this game against Maryland. He didn't touch the ball in the first half. Against Alabama, I don't think he touched the ball in the first half. The first time he touched the ball in Alabama was a kick return, which he took to the house. And so when you're not getting the ball to your best playmaker, when your offensive line can't get any sort of consistent push, and your defensive backs have been abused, right? And they made a critical error in expecting Nazir Forkarine to be eligible, which he wasn't, and they weren't going to win that case. And so even in summer ball, they were practicing with him as a starting corner. So they weren't getting the reps, the guys who were actually going to be eligible. He still wasn't eligible to play, but yet during summer ball, they were having him practice with the ones. It made no sense whatsoever.
I'm rarely my left speechless. You have rendered me speechless, because this is it's literally insane with what's happening there. Like you said, I saw 37-0 to Iowa, and I had to. It was on the ticker, and I had to go back and look at it again. I'm like, surely I didn't read that right. Maybe it was 17. No, it really was 37-0. So Ohio State this week, you're just trying to stay competitive against a Buckeyes team that, boy, if you think the Iowa defense is good, wait until you see the Buckeyes. It's just been crazy to see. So just what Fickell's out. What's next in terms of for Badger football, in terms of the coaching search, etc.? I guess he's out come November, and then what?
Now, this is my best guess. I don't have any inside information here on this one. My best guess is that Fickell coaches against Ohio State and Oregon, and then is relieved of his duties after that because they have a bye week after the Oregon game. And so I don't think you want to bring in an interim like right now just to get annihilated by Ohio State and Oregon. That would be putting them in a very bad position. My guess, he's relieved of his duties. Outside linebacker coach Matt Mitchell probably takes over as the interim head coach. He has experience as a head coach at Grand Valley State, where he was very successful as a head coach. But I think that the coaching search begins with New Mexico's Jason Eck. He was a Wisconsin assistant. He's someone who is young, who's hungry, and who has built a culture at New Mexico, of all places, that can really translate, I think. And he gets guys to play to their, to steal a phrase from Coach Brian White, the former running backs coach and offensive coordinator at UW under Barry Alvarez, who's now the running backs coach at Bowling Green, to get guys to play to their genetic ceiling. And I think that's what he does. And I think that Jason Eck is the guy that I personally would start with. I think we're going to see some other names out there, but for me, it's him, and it's probably Sean Lewis, the San Diego State head coach, who played at UW and has proven that he can, that he can do good things. So those are probably the two names that I'm looking at most. And I also think that, I think the athletic director, Chris McIntosh, has to be on an equally hot seat as Luke Fickell. Not just because the football, he was the guy who he basically, he hitched his wagon to Luke Fickell and said, this is going to be the guy. And he threw out and burned the bridges with Jimmy Leonard, who is not only an elite defensive mind, but a true legend in Wisconsin, a walk-on from Tony, Wisconsin, tiny little town, who went on to be a 3-time All-American, the leader, all-time leader in interceptions at Wisconsin, one of the greatest players to ever play at Wisconsin, a guy who, again, hit his genetic ceiling at Wisconsin, right, and truly loved the program, loved Madison, and the fact that he burned those bridges with him and so many alumni. The alumni relations right now are, to say they're in the toilet would be putting it kindly. They are really, really bad right now. And so if they want to get that back, they need to get more Badgers on staff. They have one Badger on staff right now. It's Casey Robach, who's an All-American center from those Rose Bowl teams in the late 90s. And that's it. And you look at all the best Wisconsin teams, they had so many Badgers on staff. And because Wisconsin is unique in the way that they built their program under Barry Alvarez and continued that run. So guys who knew the Wisconsin way, and I know that's cliche, but having that is so crucial at a place that is a program that is about development and developing talent and taking those 2- and 3-star guys and building them up over 3, 4, 5 years to turn into all conference players. Now, yes, you're going to get the occasional like Jonathan Taylor freshman who comes in and really contributes right away. But 90% of those guys, when they're starting, they've already been in the program for 3 or 4 years and they know what it's all about. But right now, the team has zero identity. And when you're just bringing in transfer quarterback after transfer quarterback after transfer quarterback, transferred all over the place, you don't have an identity. You don't have that culture. And so many of the best programs are all about culture. And when you don't have that, especially at a place like Wisconsin, where you don't get the 5 stars like in Ohio State or at Michigan, you have to have that culture if you're going to succeed. And Luke Fickell has completely failed to bring any sort of consistent culture and identity to Madison.
Yeah. Matt Perkins, Believe in Badgers podcast. Don't stop believing, my friend. Hang in there. Hope springs eternal sometime, somewhere.
You know what? It's funny that this team has played up to competition in the past. Their 2 best games last year were against Penn State and Oregon. Yeah, they lost both those games, but they were that's when the defense came to play the most. They darn near beat Oregon last year at home. It was a really close one. I was at the Penn State game last year. They were in that until the end of the 4th quarter. So are they going to beat Ohio State? Absolutely not. They have zero chance. I mean, I was surprised that Ohio State's only favored by 25.5. That should be at least 30 points. But, they could play up and they could, I don't think they're not going to win, but they might cover here. But that's really about it.
All right. Matt, good to talk to you, my friend. Take care. We'll talk with you soon.
Always appreciate you, Larry.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. All right.
See you guys.
Coming up next.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for for a free consultation. 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
Hey, loser.
Leave me alone. When a child shares hurtful comments online, that's bullying. Visit erasebullying.ca to learn how to help your child stand up to cyberbullying.
Somebody we haven't talked about here in quite a while in the Sports IQ, Tiger Woods. Producer Tony here just underwent another back surgery. And we were talking, you and I, over the past 24 hours or so. It's really too bad, just all the injuries and the things that have happened to him, going back to the incident with his then wife, Elin, the famous Thanksgiving night incident there at their home in Orlando. They really kind of set him on a path these past 17 years. He was on a roll before that. And with that incident and all these surgeries and the injuries, just never has been the same player.
Yeah, between that and the car wreck out in California that he was involved in, and like you said, just the surgeries in the back, it makes you kind of sit back and wonder, like, what would he have done? Would he have been able to surpass Jack? We'll never know. It'll all be, speculation on if he would have or if he wouldn't have. But it would have been nice to see that chase. It would have made for some really great drama going on. And just to see him, when he's involved in a major, and especially on round 3 or round 4, it just makes it that much more exciting.
Yeah. Could you get the non-golf fans now coming in and saying, oh, wait, Tigers? Okay, yeah, now I want to stop and watch this. Scary to think, as we all feel really old right now, he will turn 50 in December. Shares a birthday with LeBron James, by the way, different years, but they have the same birthday, December 29th. And he'll be 50 then. So he'll now be eligible for the Champions Tour. And some great reporting we saw this week that Ernie Els, among other golfers, says, please come play with us. We hope he's healthy enough to do so. Tiger and the Champions Tour, they don't play every single week. But again, Tiger on a course playing competitive golf is good for the sport. It's good for fans. And certainly it's good for the media and all the TV partners.
Absolutely. I'm sure they would love to see him out there. And those guys are, win any kind of sport like that, whether it's golf, racing, baseball, football, basketball, there's a fraternity, right? Among the guys who compete. So, I'm sure they'd like to see him back out there just to get a chance to do it all again in a little less pressure of a setting. But yeah, it would be good for ratings. It'd be good for Tiger. It'd just be nice to see him out there and playing again. With this latest surgery, there's a chance he may not be able to play in that father-son event with his son, Charlie, which was great TV. It was just fun TV to see last year when they did it. It'd be nice to see it again. I hope he's healthy enough. Hope this surgery helps clear up that back issue and we can see a little bit more of Tiger before he decides to truly hang it up.
Yeah, announcing that he had this lumbar disc replacement surgery for lower back problems. So again, hopefully he can get that back and get back on the course. We'd love to see that. Another kind of crazy story as the baseball playoffs continue now, the League Championship Series round. There's a hotel in Milwaukee that reportedly is haunted. And a great story on Yahoo Sports that Teoscar Hernandez of the Dodgers says he doesn't mind it, but his wife is with him. She refuses to stay there. It's the visiting team's hotel, but the Hernandezes, they're not staying there. They're choosing to go somewhere else during these 2 games earlier this week here in the NLCS against the Brewers.
Yeah, and he's not the only Dodger to do it. Look, Mookie Betts has stayed in Airbnbs the last couple years instead of staying at the hotel because he believes it too. There's a lot of these hotels that are older because the Pfister is from the 1800s. I think it was built in like 1893. So the thing is well over 100 years old. They talk about hearing things. I read in one part of the story where I think it was the superstar for the Phillies, Bryce Harper, said he swears that his clothes got moved from one side of the room to the other while he was sleeping and nobody else had come in the room. He had it latched, locked up. Nobody entered, nobody left, but somehow the clothes moved. I'm not sure I buy that, but for baseball players, they are a very superstitious.
Yeah.
They believe a lot of stories. If you remember Bull Durham, what did he say? If you're hitting well because you're eating burgers, that's why you're hitting well. So keep eating, don't change anything. Never change your routine when things are going well.
Yeah. I spent some time with the former Braves catcher, Johnny Estrada. He told me some stories about that. It goes even in the minor leagues. Now, I can't share them here on radio and on podcast because I don't have permission to, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But he shared some stories of, some of his teammates, things they went through. There, you're right, very suspicious bunch. But it's very funny. The Pfister Hotel, strange things happening there. And so, again, Dodgers avoiding it, going back now to LA. So, okay. Our moment of awe is up next.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Time now for a moment of awe. And on this day in 1988, Kirk Gibson, on a pair of injured legs, drilled a pinch hit, 2-run homer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th to lift the Dodgers to a 5-4 win over the A's in Game 1 of the World Series. Dodgers would go on to win that series 4-1, propelled by that clutch hit by the regular season MVP Kirk Gibson. What a moment in time on this day, way back in 1988. That truly is our moment of awe as we remember then. Well, thanks again to our guests, Mike Gross, Evan Bland, and Matt Perkins. We appreciate you being here as well. It's a Sports IQ. Make this a fantastic Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.